So I'm here today to share my experience with the Arcdroid. This is just a personal troubleshoot log for others to see and understand that even though they're a small company, they are really good at customer service if you just give them a chance to. So my customer service with them has been extraordinary. They've always been reaching out to me within 12 hours of me trying to get in contact with them, unless it's a weekend. You know, businesses aren't open on the weekend. So what I have is I was one of the first adopters for the Arcdroid. I've had my unit since 2022, and I recently got the Plus controller, and when I initially plugged it in, I could use the controller standalone by itself, but when I plug into the Arcdroid, it would just sit there and load, giving me no communications for 5 seconds, and it would never load into the drawing software. So I reached out to Arcdroid, left them a message. They called me back the next day, and they just asked for me to email a picture of the serial number on the back of the Arcdroid, and asked me when I bought it. So I sent that to them. They said there is a updated motherboard that didn't get rolled out initially, and my unit was one of the older ones, so it needs a updated motherboard. They shipped this out no cost to me, on their own dime. It only took 3 days to get here. Really no hassle. So the only hard part is going to have to be doing the repair myself. I am a little bit electronically inclined. You know, I've built computers on my own several times, so I have a little bit of electronics experience. It's similar to when you have to replace the power board for the Plus controller, but this time it's going to be the entire motherboard in the machine. So I'll walk you guys through with what I find. Alright? The tools that I'm going to be using is this 2.5mm Allen wrench that was sent to me by Arcdroid with the PCB replacement for the power for the Plus controller, and I've got a multi-use screwdriver. It's got a flat tip on the inside of it, so if we need that, it's here. I've got that. The serial number on my model is a 2AM ADP 1201.01. This new version is still 2022, but it is now a 2AM APR 0161.01. So they are different part number. So I'll get this cracked open. Okay, there are 5 screws holding this back panel on, and then it should just slide straight out. There's a little bit of tension with the wires, and then it kind of cocks over to the side. Okay? It just tips out. So here's the motherboard, and we just have to remember where all these plugs go. So what they recommended was doing one at a time, and that way you don't lose track. It looks like some of these are short enough that I'm not going to be able to do that, so we'll figure this out here together. Get this opened. There's multiple pieces in here. Let's see, bag number 2. Static bag, yep. An anti-static bag. We've got our main board. Now, normally when handling electronics, you would have an anti-static ground on your wrist attached to the machine that you're working on. I'm just gonna touch this and ground myself to the machine. Okay, so this does not want to open. Let me go get a knife. Okay, now I got the bags open, and there's 2 bags that came in this. There is a second controller board for, it says right here, V2 and USB 32 gig max. Now if you look at it really closely, it's very similar to what's on the original controller. The side panel here. So I'm going to have to also replace this controller along with the motherboard in order for it to be compatible with the new motherboard, so we don't lose communication with the new one, or with the original. Okay? So, like I said, we're just going to make sure everything's off. Okay. So what happened is they used, let me see if I can get you closer. Ooh. There's hot glue on the connectors. I'm going to need to use a razor blade to cut away at the glue to get these connectors off. And they did that for all of them, which is nice because that's like an anti-vibration. You know, the machine gets pushed around a lot because it's supposed to be semi-mobile, you know, portable. So they put glue on the connectors. I'm not going to be able to replace that glue, unfortunately, but I'm not doing any remote site work, so it'll be alright. Okay, so the glue that's on the motherboard that holds the plugs in is really strong. I had to use a really sharp blade, and unfortunately there's no way around it, but I did damage the old motherboard because getting these plugs out was tremendously difficult. What ends up happening is you end up pulling the base of the plug right off of the circuit board. So I've got these just everywhere now. But as you can see, I've been chopping away at the glue, and most of these are still in the orientation that they go on the board. The only ones that are not are these 6, but it's pretty easy to remember. Is you've got the first 4, skip 1, and then the 2, the MO1 and MO2. That's for your auxiliary port for the stylus. And then you've got these 2 that go right here, and then a single, and then the 3 for power. These 2 are for the X and Y, and then the Z axis here, and that's it. So now I got to take these smaller screws out. Unfortunately, they're not the 2.5 mil. They're going to be smaller. They're probably a 2. So I'm going to take those screws out. Okay. We got the old motherboard out, and like I said, I did end up damaging one of the capacitors and these base plugs. But like I said, out with the old, in with the new. We're going to be careful about placing this. You need to be careful about first getting it to slide all the USB and Ethernet port into its home first. Get this underneath the wires. And it's got a slide. All the ports into their sockets. There we go. Just like that. Perfect. So the I/O shield is supposed to be dust proof, so it's a tight fit getting these back in. I just had to wiggle it a little bit and they slipped in. Okay, now these 4 screws go back onto the motherboard in the 4 corners. Okay. And we'll use our 2mm Allen wrench to get these started. And I'm going to secure the motherboard down first before I start plugging everything back in. I'll be right back with you guys. So part of our revised boards, the newer updated one, it has screw-on terminal connectors for the power, for the motors.
A power?
So these plugs are going to have to be cut off and the wires stripped back and then put into these terminals. These terminals, mine came already tightened all the way down, so I have to go through and open them up. There's just a flathead screwdriver on the top of them. So I'm going to open all these up and clip the wires, and I'll show you guys what it looks like when I'm done. Okay, so I did the first one. I'm going to call it on the north side, where the fan and the heatsink are, and then this is the south side, where the ports are, and the reds all go towards the north side of the plugs, and the negative, the black, goes on the south side of the plugs, just so that you don't get confused. And I'm cutting them one at a time and stripping them one at a time and inserting them and tightening it down, so that way I didn't get any of these 4 smaller ones confused. Okay, I'd recommend doing the same. Okay, another little update is I did remove the zip tie off of the power wires just so that I could get a little more grasp on the larger ones. After they're all installed, you do need to be careful not to over tighten these. You don't want to twist them right off the motherboard. So they should be snug to where they won't pull out. And then I put my fingers underneath this while pressing down on the plugs and just kind of bend the wires down or up towards you to give them that curve so that they'll sit nicely inside here. I've got all my plugs back in where they go. If you need, well, you shouldn't have undone any other zip ties, and if you need to take pictures for reference before you take these plugs out, and you'll be able to remember where they go. I just did it from memory, but you can see I've got blank space, then the 2 for the stylus, and then these 4, they were all zip tied in different lengths, so the shortest one went first, just like putting spark plugs back into a car. Your spark plug wires, there's a short one all the way up to a long one, and the long one is the furthest one away. And then these 2 were under X and Y for your stops. Was that the motor? That's the motor control. The stops are over here. So, yeah. Those are the motor controllers, X and Y, and it's all back together. I already put the PCB in for increasing the voltage off the Ethernet, so that's what came with the plus controller. It wasn't included in this kit. Okay, so it's going to go back together, and we're just going to slip this. This goes back down. This goes right here. See, it's just a really tight fit. There we go. It's got to be straight up and down as you go back on, or it won't go in. There we go. Oh, whew, hurt my wrist doing that. And there's a little bit of pressure to it, so you just have to hold it in place while you put your screws back in. Okay? I'm going to put screws back in, I'll be right back. Okay, so that is the second time that I've now had to open up my case. Hopefully this is the last time. Next, I'm going to show you guys how to replace the PCB for the controller. This guy. And we'll put the V2 on here. It looks pretty straightforward. It's just a straight shot for the USB. So we'll get this replaced. Okay, I got the 4 screws off so far. I'm going to take this last one off. Oops. And this should take the faceplate off of this board. Oh. So why can't I? Oh, I need a smaller screwdriver. Okay. Ah, I see, says the blind man. Okay. We've got 2 connectors, a long one and a short one. Just guessing. Oh, it's glued. Ah, there's glue on it. I wonder why I couldn't get it off of there. Oh. Hey, I mean, it's the quality, you know? You're getting glued contact points that don't come out easily. It's just that peace of mind you have. If you didn't have to replace this. Because I don't have any of this glue. And it did not come with any of it. There. Now these will come out. One. And a single. Two. There we go. Put this right back together. Sorry, I'm trying to get it to where you can see it. This one, long one, goes in there. The short one goes in there with the wire on the right side there. So you can see that. And then, wow. Okay. Next, we're going to put the put this back together. And this has got to slot into that USB port. Just like that. go. Now we're just going to put all the screws back in. Same way they came out. We've got two round, short ones that go in the middle. Yes, hello. Okay, so I've got the new updated controller for the V2 in here. That's all screwed back together, handles on, and I've got my plus controller right here. So what I'm going to do is get this clear in view. I got everything plugged in except for my torch. I don't have a torch handle on it, but this is a dry run. When you turn it on, see that it boots. Hard-coded default settings loaded. This could indicate that we might need to update the firmware on this motherboard to work with the newer controller, because I haven't updated the firmware yet, but it looks like it's working. I'll home it. Yeah. Okay. Yep. Just like that. And functions are here. Go to trace. Put a tab on here or something. Right there. Okay, and dry run. It'll go all the way down to the bottom of the stop. And just fine. Okay, that's all I need to see. That's is operating with the new Plus controller. So I will get on here and update the firmware with my 32 gig SD card, and should be good to go. Alright, well, if you guys gained any benefit from this, just remember the tips that I had with getting the wires put in correctly. There is glue on those plugs. Be very careful with your multi-purpose blade. Those are very sharp. Don't rush in getting them off. I found that using the blade a little bit of like a pry bar, just to wedge it in there and to pry those plugs up, helped a lot. So, and again, I need to go in and update the firmware. That is a definite thing to do after you install a new board. I should have gone and updated the firmware, but I'll do that, and I'm sure everything will be working great. So like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.